Beautiful soul, have you ever wanted to speak to angels? Do you believe angels can support you in your daily life? If this is you, go to my website homepage, theangelmedium.com, and sign up for my weekly angel message email. As a gift for signing up, I'm giving you access to free resources, including 31 healing meditations that, if you do daily, are going to help you hear your angels and your own intuition more clearly. Start using these today and you'll see changes in 31 days. Now, take a deep breath. Feel the presence of your angels as they fill you with love, joy, peace, bliss, and ease. And remember, your angels say the messages that resonate with you in today's episode are meant just for you. Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the Angels and Awakening podcast. I'm your host and author, Julie Jancius. And today we're here with Cathy Scarpitto. She is a friend of mine. She's come through the Angel Reiki school. And when she and I reconnected recently, she really came through and Spirit was saying, bring this on the podcast because it is going to inspire so many people to understand their own purpose and really the message that Spirit has been trying to bring into you, into your life. And friends, we don't have to go through the exact same experiences in the exact same way in order to be inspired. And I'm just so excited for you to hear this piece that Cathy has to share today, because I know it's going to help inspire you in a way where maybe you see things that Spirit has been showing you, or you see it as Cathy's talking today. Maybe you feel it. Maybe you get a knowingness. Maybe you hear audibly within yourself the message of your purpose that Spirit's been trying to bring into your life. So Cathy, let's start here, because you were talking to me about the session that I did for you and your husband years ago.
Yes.
And you were like, Julie, it's all come full circle. Everything that you told me in that first session has come about. So kind of take people through that journey.
Okay. So, well, this all started. I was driving home one day from work, and I had a panic attack driving. Time changed. It got dark. I was on the Garden State Parkway, only driving 38 miles an hour. I got home, and I didn't know how I would ever drive home from work again. So my son, I heard him in the other room talking, and I heard the word podcast. And now I understand. It was Spirit putting something in my ear, because I had never listened to a podcast before. So I thought, okay, maybe I'll listen to a podcast while I drive. So I got in the car and I searched and I put in the word angel, and Angels and Awakening came up and it resonated. And the first episode I heard, I knew this was my answer. I listened to it nonstop until I caught up. So Julie was talking a lot about intuition, finding your spiritual gifts. And at the time, I'm a physical therapist. I had been practicing about 35 years. My husband and I owned our own practices that we had recently sold, but we were still working in the profession. And we were starting to think of, what do we want to do when we retire? We spent our whole lives serving in physical therapy. And I knew that I wanted to continue to serve. I just didn't know in what capacity. And as I was listening to Julie talking about opening up spiritual gifts, it's something that I always was passionate about. Never thought I was capable, because I was too much in my head. I'm very analytical, very science-based. But she made me believe that even I have spiritual gifts. So we had a session with Julie. And the purpose of this session was really for me to get in touch with where am I going? What's my purpose? How do I find out my purpose? And as we're talking, I had mentioned Reiki to her because I was interested with not doing it as a part of physical therapy at all, just as a whole nother thing to do when I was done with physical therapy. And in the course of this session, Julie said, Spirit is telling me that you are going to teach other physical therapists. And I said, I didn't see it. I kind of laughed, I giggled, but as I tell my clients, if I say something that doesn't resonate with you or doesn't make sense, write it down. Come back to it because someday it will make sense. So I wrote it down, put it away, but in the world of physical therapy, being that I am now a physical therapist over 38 years, I don't have a doctorate in it. I was grandfathered in. All the new graduates are doctorates of physical therapy. So for me to teach physical therapists in general, because I do love to teach, I didn't think I ever could do that because I don't have a doctorate. You have to have a degree more than them. I wasn't in the space that I would be able to do that. So I didn't even think twice about it. And I also didn't know about combining this Reiki and physical therapy. So it was a great session. I signed up for the Angel Reiki School. I did both Angel Reiki School and traditional Usui Reiki. And I did it primarily to open up my spiritual gifts and see how I can serve others. So I was still working. And then I went back into the clinic, and all of a sudden, Spirit was sending me patients who were open to Reiki. People had never talked about this before, but I would have patients look at me and say, "Are you an intuitive?" And I would be like, "Yeah, yes." Or they would tell me about this shaman they just saw. Now, no one ever spoke to me like this before. And then after learning all about the chakras in the Angel Reiki School, because you do a phenomenal job of tying that all together, I have to tell you. So all of a sudden, as I was looking at my patients and hearing them talk, I could see where they were holding their energy is where their physical problem was.
Oh.
It was insane. I remember one patient who, it was a TMJ patient. And the first thing about physical therapy is we put our hands on patients. Our hands are always on the patients. And the minute our hands go on the patients, they talk, right? Mm-hmm. They tell us things that we don't want to know. They just open up in a beautiful way. Mm-hmm. So this patient started telling me, but she also had been to a shaman. So I got out my little pendulum and I checked all her chakras in the physical therapy clinic. And believe it or not, her throat chakra was off. And I explained what that meant. And I said, "Does that resonate with you?" And she said, "Yes." She said, "I am a lawyer. My parents were both doctors and I had two choices. I could be a doctor or a lawyer, and I wanted to be neither." Wow. So she was the perfect example of holding on to that energy in the throat chakra and not being able to be authentic with what she wanted to do with her life. So after that, my eyes just really, really opened up to the connection of holding energy in a chakra and what it could do to the physical body. So then I started thinking back over my career, and our physical therapy clinic was such that the atmosphere, I don't know if you remember the show Cheers. Do you remember that? You may be too young.
Oh, no, of course. Cheers? No, Ted Danson, okay, right?
So, yes,
no.
yes. Yeah. So that was the atmosphere. All the therapists knew all the patients knew each other. It was jovial. It was uplifting. It was very high vibe, right? It was very healing, like a family atmosphere. And I started realizing that the patients got better, not only because of my physical therapy skills, but from this intangible component, the energy that I brought into the clinic, the energy of the clinic itself, this compassionate, loving atmosphere was very healing because I had seen other therapists who were better trained, higher skilled, and their patients didn't get better like ours did. And I realized at that point that I've been doing energy healing my whole career. All physical therapists, all clinicians, we are energetic beings. We all do some form of energy healing in a positive or negative way our whole lives, just based on the essence of who and what we are. And this I learned from you. And there is a great book by David Hamilton, Why Woo Woo Works, right? I don't know if you've ever read that. Great book. And in it, he explains the science behind the reason that the energy that a clinician brings into a session with a patient or with a client is a big determinant in whether or not they will get better or not. Yeah. That the Heart Math Institute has done studies saying that the energy of our heart extends, I think, about 3 feet beyond us. So what we are feeling, the energy that we are bringing to this is very important. And I realized that there's a lot of clinicians whose energy needs to be better in the clinic, that what they are bringing to their patients, they need to be aware that it matters. And then I remember this young patient. Before I started Reiki, we had this young girl who was about maybe 13, maybe 14. And she came into the clinic and I just thought she was shy. She would not meet eye contact with anyone. She had pain all over her body. I think they diagnosed her with fibromyalgia, but nothing worked. Nothing helped. And she just was a very, very introspective type little girl. And one day, the clinician that was working with her came out of the booth looking like she had seen a ghost. And she said she went through a lot of sexual trauma. And she never told anyone. She never told her parents. And it wasn't her parents. It wasn't anyone in her family. It was someone who lived close by, but wasn't related to their family. And she had asked that we don't tell our parents, but of course we could not do that based on law. But from that moment on, that little girl came out of the booth shining, smiling. Her eyes were bright. And
what about the pain?
Went away.
Wow.
She came back a couple days later because in physical therapy, we see people 2-3 times a week. She came back and her pain was gone. She was just holding on to that. She was holding on to the energy of what happened to her. And when she was able to let it out in a safe space, and we in physical therapy, we are not, and I don't pretend to be therapists, right? We're physical therapists. We are not mental therapists. We are not psychiatrists, psychologists, but our patients talk. Our patients let things out all the time, and we need to hold space for them. We need to hold space for them so that they can. And this was a perfect example of how this child was healed. Mm-hmm. So, then I started thinking that this is something that has to be brought to physical therapy.
That the two have to move, like merge and integrate. Energy healing, understanding, because when you start to work with energy, your spiritual gifts start to come out. You really start to connect with the other side. And Reiki doesn't teach you that. Like traditional Reiki does not teach you how to work with your spiritual gifts as they're starting to come through. So that's why I created the Angel Reiki School to bridge mediumship, working with angels and bringing through angel messages, developing your intuition to the max, energy healing, quantum healing, Reiki, fusing it all together. And there's so many people who have come through the program who are doing these amazing things, bridging this into different areas of work, because that's what the angels always say, is that well, one, we're not in like a stay in your lane era
Mm-hmm.
anymore. Where like if you're a medium, stay in your lane. If you work with angels, stay in your lane. If you're energy healing, stay in your lane. It all has to fuse together. And it fuses together with what you're passionate about, what your experiences are, what you're good at, what calls to you, the different forms of healing that call to you to learn. And so many different people are creating these different modalities and these different forms. And you have created one that integrates physical therapy and Reiki. Tell everybody about that. I'm so excited for you, Cathy.
Well, it is very exciting. And I have to tell you that, again, I went into this as something separate from physical therapy.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my physical therapy career, in my professional life, I was always very well respected. We owned a business in town. And coming out, shall I say, as a Reiki practitioner was scary, right?
Mhm.
Having my worlds collide, because I really thought that these were two different worlds. I thought I was going to take my physical therapy and retire from it and enter, move down the shore where we live now, where no one knows me, and start up Reiki. And then my worlds collided. And it's funny because I was in a text chat with the cohort from the Angel Reiki School.
Mhm.
We
Which you
kept in
went through
touch.
years ago and you
Yes.
still can't stay in contact with.
Yes. And it was soon after, and I had put my website together, and I was talking to the ladies, telling them that I'm really afraid to push the button to
Yeah.
go live
Yeah.
on Facebook because everyone's going to know, and what are they going to think, right? So they encouraged me. They were kind of just cheering me on, and in the middle of the text, I just pushed the button, and I was, out there, so to speak. So and it was very well received, but it was really something that I meant to be separate, not together, until I really saw this coming together. And that is because you had said to me, I think Spirit says you are going to be teaching physical therapists.
Yeah.
And I said, I guess this is the time. And I put together a course. I sent it to the State Board of Physical Therapy for approval, and they approved it. And my first in-session training, I guess I had 12 physical therapists in person doing a Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 two-day course. And I was scared. I was scared to do my meditation for them to meet their Reiki guide, because I thought they were going to think I was, lost myself. So I didn't know, did these therapists come just because they need the credits, or do they want to learn?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just said, I don't care. I am going all in. I am going to be passionate. I am not going to be afraid. I am going to do this. And it was magical. They loved it. They just, they couldn't believe they were getting credit for something that was so spiritual. And the important thing to know is about Reiki and physical therapy. And I tell them it's not it is another tool, but more importantly, it's a way of life. It is a way of looking at how you treat your patients, how you interact with your patients. It's not just like a massage where you do it and you're done. It's more encompassing. It's how you view your patient as a being, as a whole person. It's how you look at yourself, and it's not just, okay, do I do ultrasound or do I do Reiki today? It's a part of you, and it's a part of them, and it's the love and compassion that you bring to your sessions. And they just loved it. They loved it. And they were themselves getting so many messages at the chakras in just this 2-day training that they were so inspired. So it has been very exciting, a very heartwarming journey to find. I keep finding more and more physical therapists find me. And they are just so happy to find it because it's something that they've been looking for, that can make their practice better.
Yeah.
And I tied it together also by, I did take a medical Reiki course to help me bridge the gap, right?
Yeah.
Because it's important for a physical therapist or any clinician to learn how to talk about Reiki in a way that does not offend or just shut people down.
Sure.
Because you can talk about Reiki from the belief perspective, right? So if they don't believe what you believe, they're not going to accept it. But I start by talking about Reiki from the physiological perspective. And that is something that cannot be contested because it's based on science. So I talk to my patients, to doctors, to other clinicians initially from a physiological based perspective, explaining to them all about the autonomic nervous system and how Reiki has been shown to balance the nervous system. When we are under chronic stress and sympathetically driven, our bodies are not able to rest, relax, digest, and heal. And Reiki has been shown to make the shift, to shift someone's body into the parasympathetic state that allows them to rest, relax, digest, and heal. And the Reiki, therefore, is just allowing the body to heal itself and giving it what it needs. I've always told my patients with my physical therapy, the body is the best healer of itself. We just need to give it what it needs. But Reiki adds another component, right? I'm not just stretching. I'm not giving just strength and flexibility. I'm giving energy. And energy is so important because up to this point, science has only looked at disease from either a chemical, either the chemicals are off or mechanically something needs to be fixed, but they've never looked at it from an energetic component. Maybe the energetic component has caused this chemical imbalance or this mechanical dysfunction. So it brings a whole nother area into healing.
Unbelievable. Just so much fun. And like as you were talking, you and I were on the phone one day. I love when we talk because we're just so enthralled in our conversations. Yes. They're just such great conversations. Spirit was saying, and they've been showing me this since I began in this work, there are so many different industries that have got to pull in energy healing, intuition, bringing in your intuition, really embodying your spirituality, all of these different components and pieces. And friends, I'm just one person. Like there is a capacity at which I'm full. I cannot do any more work. And Cathy has a capacity too. There's only so much she can do. And there are so many people who are needed here on earth to run with things and to create these modes and modalities that Spirit and God are creating right now to bring through and help within certain industries. I look at teachers, for example. I don't know a teacher who is not burnt out. And there are so many different ways to bring, to your point before, Cathy, where you said you had to learn how to talk about the language in a way that didn't turn people off. And in our school systems now here in Illinois, in our district, we have what's called social emotional learning. So kids are learning how to regulate their emotions, but we're bringing this more into the classroom. And it's needed even more, right? Within every teacher, and every teacher who is leaving the school day, who is just burnt out, needs to know how to replenish their energy. There are courses that different healers can be creating to these audiences and working with on a very big and major scale, which I have not seen happen at all. There is a major deficit. I think back to this documentary that my husband and I watched over the last year was about the music producer, David Foster. He has produced amazing music. Everything that you've heard on the radio, so much of it has come from him. And he talked in this documentary about how he went to Canada for a wedding and he saw Michael Bublé play before Michael Bublé got big, because David Foster made him what he is today. And he said he was sitting at the table at the wedding, looking at Michael Bublé, thinking to himself, there has not been a soul here on earth since Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack who has what this kid has and can be this for the world. And he said, that's what everybody needs to be looking at within their own purpose. There are gaps here on earth that are not filled. And your soul is here because God placed you here with the personality and the skill set and the experiences and the desire and the passion and the ambition to run with things and get things done here on earth. And so the message today here is there are huge gaps within the healing industry. And I so needed to pull Cathy on today because she filled one of those gaps. But you're working with people, is it in New Jersey, Connecticut?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. So there are people who are probably needed to do what you do in every state, right?
Well, yes. Well, they can, any physical therapist or anyone can take my course because it is online. It's a hybrid course.
Awesome.
It's online. So there is, they get 4 online credits, but 5 live credits because it's a live webinar with me via Zoom. And so they just won't get the continuing education credits in other states. But gotcha. I have trained therapists in Delaware and Connecticut, but because they wanted to learn it and they weren't concerned about the CEUs. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, that's perfect. See, that's perfect. Yes. And there are so many courses that need to be created for teachers to just process the energy of being a teacher, and courses for teachers to learn how to bring more consciousness into the classroom, raise the vibration of the classroom, help the kids with that. There are courses for hairdressers. I think this is an industry too, where they have some of the heaviest energy because people just come into their chair, people who do your color and your cut, and they just unload.
Yes. 100%. Yeah. 100%.
You could do, there's a gap with massage therapists. It's needed in that industry. Nurses need this as well. And so what I want people to really do right now is tune into the inspiration that Spirit is bringing into you as we talk, because you're needed here. And I want you to see that the way that Cathy started is she got some sessions. She went through the Angel Reiki school, and it doesn't have to be with me, folks. If something else calls to you, I just want you to be working with the right person. You should be working with the teacher that really calls to you, that you feel comfortable with and safe with, and the program that you're going to get the most out of. And if it's the Angel Reiki school, awesome. And if it's not, that's totally fine too. But you need some training, because that's what people always ask. They're like, Julie, I know Spirit is calling me to create a spiritual business. I don't know where to start. You need training. You need to start somewhere. You need some training. And then you start to bridge it together. And so we recently created a 6-month Angel Reiki school in year long.
I want to hear about this. I wanted to ask you. Yeah. Tell me, because you also do a 1 year that's more of a mentorship.
Right? So everybody that goes through the Angel Reiki school is going to go through the same 8-week program. That's the one that you went through. It's the one that almost 400 people have gone through to date.
Okay.
And so everybody starts with the same intensive 8 weeks beginning. It's about 4 to 6 hours of work a week to get started. And then what I found, I've gotten into human design over the last year, which has been really, really fun. I'm a manifester. No, a generator. So I just run with things. An idea comes in from spirit and I don't self-doubt. I don't hem and haw. I'm just like, giddy up, let's get to work, right? But there are a lot of other people out there who are projectors, who are manifestors, and they're coming in with a different perspective or a different mentality. Spirit also says, remember, Cathy, being in school growing up and your teacher gave you the option of like working by yourself or working in groups? Some people just like that extra continued mentorship. Some people like that extra continued support. So if people want to continue for the 8 weeks or the year long, what we're doing is increasing your confidence in your gifts, because that confidence comes over time of working with folks. I'm giving you all of the secrets, all of the tools, all of the resources that I have learned along the way so that you don't have to make the same mistakes as me. You can avoid those pitfalls and those potholes. And also, after the 8 weeks, you're no longer working on volunteers because now you're allowed to accept paid clients. So much within business is God doesn't want you playing it small. God wants you working with the souls that you're here to help. And you can't do that by praying for clients. You have to know how to do the work to bring clients through your door. And so it really goes very much into depth, where every single week I'm teaching you how to build your clientele. Separately, every single week I'm teaching you how to build your business. So there are these different components of growing as a healer, growing your clientele, growing your business. And every week you get different components of this is exactly what I want you to do. And if I'm telling you, I want you to send this email, or if I want you to put up this Facebook post, I'm giving you exactly the wording to put up. So it takes the stress out of it. Yeah, it's all done kind of for you. And then there's parts of your business that you're building and I'm mentoring you as you go along. But you know me, Cathy, I don't hold anything back. It's
No,
I give you everything that I know.
Yes. No, the 8-week Angel Reiki course was unbelievable. But yeah, you're right. When you leave, I mean, you prepare me better than anyone could have ever. And I've been to so many different types of trainings, right? But it was unbelievable. But still, to get the confidence, right? To get the confidence to really be comfortable in bringing through the messages, right? And it takes practice. It takes time,
well,
and I used to say,
to
I used to say back with you, that I was just a healer. I thought maybe I'm just a healer. I don't know that I'm getting the message component, but as soon as I say that, I'm blocking it, right?
Exactly.
And then I stopped saying that, and it's all unfolding so much more. So having that extra, now that's what you do on the 6-month program, Julie, or the 1-year program?
So it's all tied in together. So you can't really break it apart when you're growing as a healer and you're growing your business and starting your business. You know what you talked about before? That's what I wanted to say first, where you were like, I had to kind of come out of the closet as a healer. I think we all have felt that way as we, and the longer that you delay that process, the what you're doing is you're delaying yourself from starting your business. You're delaying yourself from doing God's work. You're delaying yourself from being on your path. So I think it's easier to do when you're with a cohort of people and you're growing up with this class. A cohort is like a class. It's the class that you're going through the 6-month with, the 1 year with. And so it's that. And so you really can't pick apart. There's 3 things that are happening as you grow as a healer. You are growing your confidence because you know what you're doing. You leave the program, you have all of the skills, you know exactly what it is, but now you have to believe in yourself. And so it gives you, the more time I think that people spend in mentorship with me, the more that they believe in themselves. And I can give them that as a mentor. The other thing is you're constantly building out your pipelines, you're building your clientele. And a lot of people don't know the mechanics of that or how to do that. And so we go through it very, very in depth so that I'm coaching you every week and making sure that you're continuing to build up your clientele. And you're responsible to your cohort. You're putting in 4 different pieces of data every week and being accountable so that you're constantly staying with your class on everything that you're working on. And then the other thing is we are all equal souls, right? Like in God's eyes, we are all equal. But Cathy, you know so much more about physical therapy than I do because I've never worked in that, but you've worked in that for decades. And in the same way, when you run a business and you create a successful business, you know, because you've learned them through trial and error and making all of the mistakes, you know, this is what's going to come up. These are the pitfalls within the first couple of years. These are the pitfalls that are going to come up within the first 5 years. These are the pitfalls that are going to come up within the first 10 years. And so I've put together all of the secrets, the tools that everybody needs to grow their business and the foundation of their business very strongly, showing them the map of how to grow a successful spiritual business. And I teach people too that the very first thing that we're keeping in mind, and we keep this in mind throughout the entire course, the first thing I taught you, Kath, is it's about the maximum benefit of every client, you know, the maximum benefit of every single person listening to this podcast episode. Every single thing that you do as a spiritual healer, always the intent is the maximum benefit of everyone you're working with.
Whatever that may be, right? The highest and greatest good. And we always don't know what that is.
Right.
So I always, I will tell my clients that, if they're a prayerful person, I believe that Spirit always answers our prayers, but not always the way we ask them, because sometimes there's something greater, right? There's something greater. And when we don't know what is best for us. So,
just like that very first session with you. And you were like, Julie, what are you talking about? You're telling me I'm going to teach physical therapists and I'm going to know Reiki. And you're like, you're crazy. And then you called me up a couple months ago and you're like, it all came full circle.
I know. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yes.
It is. But I have to tell you that your component, the angel Reiki component, is what was really needed, because just the general, Usui Reiki, without that's the component where I learned about intuition, really learning that, granted, when all these patients are telling and spewing and letting things out, you don't have to tell them what to do. You should never tell them what to do. But what you need to teach them is how to listen to their own intuition, how to follow their own hearts, because they have all the answers. All the answers are in here, right? Everyone knows. No one can tell you, but you need to give them the skills, right, to quiet that monkey mind and listen to their heart. to hear
That's
that tiny whisper. So
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Cathy, I'm so excited for all the good that you're doing in the world. I'm so
Oh,
excited for
thank
this.
you. Well, I owe it. I really owe it to you, Julie, for getting me out there, getting me started, and curing my anxiety behind the wheel. So all of it. Yes.
Hey, Cathy, wait just a second. I forgot to add in, what is your website if people want to go and find your physical therapy class so that they can take it if they're a physical therapist?
Oh, okay. So my website is www.healingwaves-reiki.com, and just go to the page for CEUs or training, and there's a link to my courses.
Awesome. And then are you on Instagram as well?
Yes, I am on
What
Instagram at healingwavesreiki.com. I think my links to both my Facebook page and Instagram are on the website as well.
Awesome. We'll put all of that information in the show notes. Well, friends, I hope that you're inspired by today's episode and by Cathy, because God is calling to you and there are healers in every line of work. My friend, if you are here and living, you have purpose, and that purpose includes servitude in some capacity. And so pay attention to what God is showing you, telling you within your own internal dialogue, and really what God's placing on your heart and calling to you. Because, Cathy, do you ever think that you would have thought that you'd be here, 4 years ago when I first met you?
No, absolutely not. I was just kind of doing it for fun. I wanted to learn how to, hear messages, that kind of thing. I never thought that it was going anywhere. I just thought it was another little, maybe I could pick up a trick or two kind of thing. Yeah, but and now the people I'm training, I just trained someone who actually is going to bring this to parents, because she thinks it's so important for children and parents to be able to do Reiki on their children, right?
Oh,
Even to be able to teach your children to connect to their intuition, right? The whole school system on making decisions based on what makes sense, right? What you can get the most pay for, or what jobs are out there, instead of just training children to follow their passions, right? And instead of concentrating on what they're bad at and making that better, what are they good at? And expanding upon that, and allowing them to follow those passions, even when it doesn't make sense. So, yeah.
oh, that's amazing. Friends, I hope that you're so inspired by today's conversation and where God's leading you. If you feel called to the 8-week, 6-month, or 1-year Angel Reiki School, they all start out with the same 8-week program. Definitely go over to my website and sign up for a discovery call or more information. That's in the show notes as well. Friends, I love you. Your spirit team loves you so much. And I hope you have a beautiful, peaceful, blessed day. Beautiful soul, thank you so much for joining me today. My name's Julie. You know I'm all about connecting you with messages from your angels and loved ones on the other side. If you've been listening today and you're super excited and just have to know which angels are around you right now, who's connecting with you, and what messages they have for you, go to theangelmedium.com. Register for a session. You can do a reading with me or a member of my team, and we can help you in making sure that your angels are doing the very best they can to support you and guide you to your best life. If this sounds like you, virtual sessions, they're only offered on my website. Sign up today. And if you're the person who's really excited, you can sign up for my Angel Reiki School to become a certified angel messenger. That's for the healers among us who feel called to grow their intuition to the max and serve humanity with their gifts. You'll learn Reiki, mediumship, how to deliver angel messages, and how to get clients. That's the Angel Reiki School at theangelmedium.com or DM me on Instagram at Angel Podcast with any questions. Before you go, connect with your angels by placing your hands on your heart. Take a deep breath. Imagine a doorway filled with God's unconditional love is right in front of you. Step into that love and feel it as it fills your body, chakras, and auric field. Now ask your angels, what would you have me know today? And open yourself to the positive, loving messages they have just for you.